You're listening to the Slow Ride Podcast. Bikes, advice, and rumors straight from the source. TheSlowRidePodcast.com and on Twitter at TheSlowRidePod. Enjoy the ride.
All right, hello and welcome to the Slow Ride Podcast, a Tim-free edition. How does it feel?
Feels good.
Yeah, it only took us 60 episodes to get here, but we've done it. We finally made it, and we're ready to roll.
Yep. Yeah, we're another Tim-free week. Tim is in Scotland, looking into the locks, looking for Nessie.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He did send a dispatch in to let us know and tell everyone that he did see a fat biker with a kilt.
Well, that's just disturbing.
That is the Scotland update, and that's what I know. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Boston is treating me well. Spencer Howe here in Boston. Tim, as you heard, was in Scotland, and little guy Matt.
Minneapolis.
Yep, Minneapolis, joining me as always, co-hosting the episode this week. So we're going to have kind of a truncated episode this week. We won't take full advantage of Tim not being here this week, unfortunately for us.
I know.
But we will have a second part of the show with some interviews, some reports from the field, rumors.
Straight from the source.
Yep, straight from the source, just like the tagline.
We say.
Yep. So we're finally living up to that, which should be pretty exciting for once.
We're gonna live up to that name.
Yeah.
Like self-description.
Only took us 60 episodes. So that should be exciting. And then we'll get into some highlight greatest hits. That's how we'll wrap the thing up. Should be fun. And
we must be getting old if we're putting out a greatest hits podcast, and then a little later in the year we're doing a live one. And the band starts really, like your favorite band, they like 3-4 records in, they put out like a little greatest hits, and you're like, ooh, they're running out of material, and then they put out a live album, and eventually we're gonna do that here.
Kind of like Rush.
Yeah, we're turning it at Rush.
Oh no.
Our next show will be a concept show. We'll come up with a theme completely outside of cycling and sort of loop it all back in. Yeah. Make it a deep concept.
Yeah, not like we do now.
But until then, we had 3 things, right? We're going to talk about tonight.
Yep.
First, Wiggins.
Yep, Wiggins. That was big news. We hit the Giro and
nothing to talk about.
Yeah, nothing to talk about after the Giro. So and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Wiggins, apparently just willy-nilly.
Nobody knew he was going to do this.
Yeah, just willy-nilly decided to do an hour record, and so as Wiggin is wont to do, he just sort of pulls this stuff out of thin air. Nobody saw it coming, and just decides to ride his bike really hard for an hour, and totally dominates the previous record that was set like a week ago. Beat it by like a K&a-half.
Yeah, a little over.
Yeah,
that's with thick air too.
Yeah, exactly.
The air was quite thick.
Quite thick.
Thick
with shame.
Well, Dowsett, who knows? Maybe Dowsett will have another go, but he definitely put a big chunk of time into him. He would have lapped him, I believe.
Oh, really? That can't.
I heard from somewhere that he would have probably lapped him on the track, which is kind of crazy to think that the fastest hour record time would have lapped the second fastest guy.
That's crazy.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
54.5.
So, Wiggins absolutely smashes the previous record, destroys it, and that had been said about a week before by Alex Dowsett, who smashed the record that was set maybe a week before that by Rohan Denny, who smashed Jens Voigt's record from the week previous. So we've had just kind of this week after week kind of shifting of the hour. And so now Now the question is Chris Boardman really the greatest of all time? Is the position really that different? I don't know.
Yeah, I would like to see somebody get really nerdy and tell me what the aero advantage of the Superman is compared to the current position, because it's not like the Superman's supposedly 2 aero,
Right.
and we're in this sort of in between the old
Right.
record where you had to use regular drop bars and you couldn't get super aero, and now you've got a pursuit bike and you've got all that aero stuff, but you don't have the crazy aero position
Right. And
of days of old.
yeah, how
I kind of
different.
want to know what the difference is. Like, maybe it's
Right.
not even really a difference. Maybe we're fooling ourselves into thinking that. And maybe
Well-
Boardman really was just faster.
What's amazing is that the position he was in, like, he just looks uncomfortable.
God, he should have gotten a special prize, not just for breaking the hour record, but for being able to just be in that position for an hour. Because Wiggins, in comparison, if you look at a picture of Wiggins compared to being in that old Superman or praying mantis position that those guys, him and Obrey, did it in.
Yeah. Yeah.
God, it looks just like laying on the couch.
Yeah.
In comparison.
Absolutely.
Well, what do you think? I guess the only thing next is when does Tony Martin give it a go? Maybe Dowsett tries again, but Tony Martin, I think, is what we're all hoping for.
Well, I think if Tony Martin's a smart man, he won't try it at all. I mean, the worst thing you can do is, I think, maybe is not break the record, because who's that guy who tried and didn't do it? I don't even remember his name.
Decker, and what's his name?
Yeah, right. We don't even remember his name.
I remember Decker, but I don't remember the other guy, and he's actually still got a pro contract, which is crazy.
Exactly.
I think I felt more saddened that Decker didn't get it, because he came like really close, and then he didn't, and then he just retired.
In shame.
And that just felt like, man, this is got to be tough to train that much and then be like, well, nobody likes me.
Well, the thing about Decker is he kind of went at it little guy style, all willy-nilly, His times were all up sometimes, down sometimes.
Well, it was probably dependent on what the soundtrack was.
Yeah,
Wasn't
that's
everyone making
true.
fun of other dudes' soundtrack? I don't remember what his hits were. I was at a wedding this last weekend, and there was a lot of music played at the beach party that
Okay.
I'd never heard.
I'm surprised.
I'm a pretty hip dude.
I'm shocked.
But I'd never heard any of this music, and some of those songs I think were Katy Perry songs, and they were pretty. There's some fast beats. That would be good hour record music. Let me tell you.
Okay.
I think I just put on a Katy Perry album.
Sure. Maybe this needs to be the next project. We get a little guys slow ride podcast Spotify playlist and see what you put on for your hour attempt.
We should get that together.
It can be good.
It'll
Yeah.
be some super deep dance cuts, because I am hip when it comes to the club music.
Yep.
What all the kids are into in the club.
Yeah, we'll get some Katy Perry and some Rush on there. It'll be awesome.
Yeah, there's probably some pretty upbeat Rush that would be good. Anyway,
Maybe.
yeah, we'll work on that. I'll work on that in my free time.
Yep.
What? Yeah, what was that?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. So the other big news that happened at Wiggins's hour attempt there, which kind of overshadowed or put maybe an ominous little dark cloud over his happy sunshiny day, was the presence of Johan Brunel at the event.
It is weird. Did he just come on his own?
Yeah.
Was he
I mean,
invited? What's the deal?
I don't know.
What
but-
have you heard? I thought he
Okay.
was just there.
So what I heard, well, if you ask Johan Brunel, he says, "Well, I just bought a ticket and walked in like everybody else."
Okay,
And
I guess he can do that.
right, exactly, as he is wont to do. But if you look at the photos, he's in the VIP box with a certain Pat McQuaid.
Oh,
So,
Is he?
Yeah, a little strange.
oh God, those guys are really.
That's pretty next level. It's like
Yeah,
James
I can't-
Bond villain style.
It is like James Bond villain ridiculous.
You know what I mean? Like, just no fucks
These
given.
guys.
Especially right after this FIFA stuff. Like, that's crazy.
It's because there's no money. There's like, why would the feds even
Well,
investigate? What are you
yeah,
gonna
I
get?
guess.
$20? You shake him down for $20? Yeah. Wow, I didn't know he's with McQuaid.
yeah.
That's cool.
So, yeah.
Well,
But yeah, according to Brunel, he's just another guy who spent 200 British pounds on a
oh,
ticket.
well, it's good to know.
So,
Good to know that all of the lying and cheating meant that he still has the money to travel and buy tickets to expensive events.
Well, there's that. That's
hang out with other rich guys that lied and cheated a lot. That's cool.
Yeah, took bribes and all that business.
Yeah. On a bright note, Indrin was there.
Yeah, well, that's true.
We've never heard if he's cheated.
Well,
he seems he's got a spotless record.
Yeah, definitely no real major spots on that record. And Merckx was there, Indurain's there. Everybody came out, so that was pretty cool. That's what I liked about the event is it seemed like everybody came out, even if they were bad seeds, like Brunel. So you got to take the good with the bad, I guess. And we had a pretty rad cycling party, and it was Wiggins' day. So kudos to him. Yeah, it's been a while since we've seen Big Mig.
Well, it's cool that in the light of he's someone who's also won the tour, and it's cool to see somebody
totally
excelling in all these disciplines. Other than a lot of these other guys, not that they're not good riders and they're not versatile riders, but that they're time trial specialists. And Wiggins can time trial. He got himself with the climb. He tried to go for Roubaix. It's cool to see somebody being able to move around within cycling and focus on different things and bring that to the sport rather than just specializing. Just like Brunel.
Yeah, he was a great rider. Really brought a lot to the sport.
Well, and he was a boring rider, and then he was, but a good one. He finished top 10 at the Tour, and then he was a sleazy director.
Yeah, right? He's kind of like the slumlord of cycling to some extent,
Interesting. He won that stage that I think is still the fastest Tour stage ever, where Indurain broke away at the end.
Really?
And Brunel just jumped on him and then didn't take a pull, and then he sprinted around Indurain at the end and won the stage. So I think Brunel, if I'm not mistaken, didn't take any pulls. I mean, I know Indurain was Indurain, and of course no one could beat him in that time. But still, Brunel was a guy who'd finished 4 or 5 spots below him in the GC, jumps away with him late in the race, can't take a pull, and then wins the stage. And then it's like, oh, thank you for the fastest Tour stage ever.
Nice.
You did all the work.
Classy guy, that Brunel.
So class act. It's hard to know how we feel about Brunel when we talk about him.
Yeah, he's been that way since the beginning, I guess. I don't know.
Well, should we just segue straight from that to doping news? We got this whole Cruiser case to talk about.
I don't see how the connection there between doping and this, but we can jump into it.
The UCI dropped their biopassport case against Roman Kreuziger after a year plus.
Dropped it like it fell out of their briefcase and fell into the sewer drain somewhere and can't be found?
They said that they found new information has come to light. So maybe they dropped their briefcase and then some papers fell out that they'd forgot to look at that said, oh, no, you don't have a case. And then they went, oh, crap. It's kind of a mystery. I haven't seen. Maybe it's going to come out soon.
Or did they drop their briefcase and pick up the briefcase next to it that happened to be full of money?
That's true. It seems shady.
It could be.
A level of incompetence, but it doesn't bode well for the passport in the future.
Yeah, well, I mean, it could be either way with the UCI. They're equal parts incompetence and shadiness. So, really 6 of one, half dozen of the other.
Yeah, it is, and it's sad because hopefully we could have believed in the past that the passport was a way to actually catch dopers, and people that were manipulating it. But at this point, if they lost the case to such a high-profile rider and had to withdraw it after this long, I feel like it's going to freak them out to go forward with the case again. Because we'll see why when it comes out, but it definitely doesn't bode well. He's maintained his innocence all along.
Yeah, it's like most have,
as most do.
Yeah,
but it certainly looks weird if they got really far and then it got thrown out. And they've always been maintaining, the UCI's been maintaining they've got him. And there's some bad stuff in there. And then it just gets thrown out.
Yeah. It
doesn't look good for them.
It doesn't look good for their case building.
I don't know.
Safe to say the whole thing is very strange.
It's very strange because, Yeah, he's a high-profile rider, and if they're going to bring a case, it seemed like they would only go with a pretty slam dunk of a case.
CSI on this thing,
screwed it up. Off the back of the rim, it bounced all the way to half court, and oh no, Kruziger picked it up. He's going to score. I'm kind of wondering, since he got this case against him, he hasn't been riding as well.
Right?
Which makes me wonder if maybe he got a little scared and he put the hot sauce down a little bit.
Maybe. I was expecting...
Think he's going to start riding well again? Because he didn't do a good Giro.
Yeah, no, and even before that, I thought he was going to have a much better Ardennes season than he had.
Yeah, and, former Amstel winner. Right?
Yeah, he was just nowhere to be seen. He wasn't at the front of the race as I kind of expected him to be.
Tour de France coming up, maybe he'll be like 2 years ago where he was, couple places. He was like 5th or something at the end. I mean, he wasn't far off the podium, and he's working for Contador.
Right, and I mean, yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. We've got Contador's, maybe he's plan B. Maybe he's the arrow in the quiver that nobody is expecting for the tour.
Oh yeah, it's tour time.
Yeah, so we've got the tour coming up. That's what we're gonna get excited about now. We've already gotten letters and stuff about it to the Slow Ride, so we're gonna get into that next week.
Next week we can do a wrap up of the Dauphine Libre. We'll have that. We'll know where a whole bunch of the tour contenders are.
Exactly, yeah.
In their form, who's been sandbagging, who's actually in form, who's in form too early, and who the French will pin their hopes on hopelessly.
And as we all know, the best thing about the Dauphiné is that it is the perfect predictor for the Tour de France. Anybody that's placing well there is definitely not, they're peaking too early. They're not going to be in form for the Tour. Anybody who's off the back is going to be off the back of the Tour. But whoever finishes right about 16th place, they should be bang on form for the Tour.
Who in your Cracker Jack research team, who finished 16th last year?
Well, I don't know that kind of information.
Because it wasn't Nibali.
Well, no, but whoever finishes about 16th place should have a very good tour. And this year, I'm thinking it should be Thibaut Pinot, if my research is correct. I predicted him earlier this year to win the tour, so I kind of have to stick by it since he's a French guy, and I kind of have to pick a French guy. So, yeah, I think he's gonna do it.
Yeah. Well, all right. I think that's probably a good place to end it on a French note.
Yeah. Usually is.
We'll end this segment of it, and now we'll go to our Cracker Jack research team in the field.
Yeah.
With a hot interview. But I'm saying goodbye to this point, so...
Okay. Goodbye. Well, goodbye, little guy. We're going to get into our interview segment here, and we'll just talk about you behind your back then.
Okay. Do that.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay.
This is Ryan. This is Ryan. This is Ryan Woodall, Florida's first cyclocross national champion. You're listening to the Slow Ride Podcast.
So we are here with special guests this week doing a mini report. We have Adam Myerson in the studio. He was just at Philly, one of the most storied races in the U.S. anyway. So we're gonna ask him about it, see what went down, see how it was. It was a Women's World Cup this year, which is pretty cool. Hasn't been a World Cup in the U.S. for 15 years or something.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it's been 15 years.
So how was that? How was it not being the stars of the show, so to speak?
Yeah, it was all right other than having to get up at 5 in the morning, which is a little bit exceptional. And
probably haven't had to do that since you were a Cat 5.
I know, right? I mean, that's why I'm not a Cat 5. You see the training, get up at the crack of dawn. And I mean, Amy Cutler tried to give me some flack about welcome to the club, or this is how it is. But it's like, man, we don't want you to have to do that either. Like, we don't think the women should have to get that early. Like, we wouldn't wish that on anybody. Yeah, it's tough because I think they have to be, even the women's race started early, like compared to, say, Winston-Salem, where the men's race was even a little bit longer and didn't start until 3:30. So the women were first there, but I don't think they got up at 5 a.m. So I think at Philly they have to be off the roads. The women's race was scheduled to end at 3 3:45.
Yeah.
You know, and I think at Winston we were racing until 6 or 7 o'clock. So yeah, the early start was a bummer, but although I will say, like, the positive part of that, it was cool. It was much cooler. The temperatures were reasonable race temps. So, and I was home by 9 p.m. On Sunday night after racing Philly, which is pretty unbelievable. Home in Boston, yeah, not home from the race. Back home in Boston. I was in my bed Sunday night after Philly, which was exceptional. So, no, I only wish for us, like, logistically, that I couldn't really spectate the women's race.
Okay.
In my own self-interested approach, when the women were before us, I could actually watch some of it. We could watch the end of it because we'd be kind of done getting ready and they'd be finishing.
Mm-hmm.
So, we got to see them start, but, we have to get all the vehicles out of there and go back to our own host housing and shower and everything. And, you're not going to go back down there. So, I didn't actually get to watch any of it. I went back and watched the finish of it later. But yeah, I mean, you talked about, like, the history of, you start kind of talking about the importance of Philly. And so for me, coming up and watching Philly, like, it was a women's World Cup, when I first started racing it. And, so for me, Philly is like the Petra Rosner period of the women's race, and her, I think she won it something like 5 times in a row. She was unbeatable on that course. So, in just growing up, Philly was the biggest race there was. So even though we have Tour of California and all the medalist races and such now, I think if you're my age or from my generation, Philly will always have this exaggerated sentimental importance. It's Philly.
Mm-hmm.
There's just it's a monument, an American monument.
I've never raced it, but I've got the same kind of feeling. Like, oh, Philly's, it happens this weekend. It's super important. It's iconic. You got the whole thing. The Kelly Drive, the Lemon Hill, and then of course the wall. And I did want to ask, I guess, having raced it, I don't know, 11 times, I think you said?
Yeah, 11 times, over the past 13 years.
How does the finish line change affect everything, finishing on the hill as opposed to at the circle?
Yeah, well, it's 2 major changes, or maybe even 3. So the finish line is moved. The course itself is shorter. When we come off of Lemon Hill, we don't turn left and go to Logan Circle and finish on I think it's like Avenue of the Americas, or the road over there has a different name, in front of the art museum, that old finish. So that whole section is gone, which makes the course itself shorter. There's less flat riding, and which makes each hill more significant, and the race is much shorter. I did Philly 9 times when it was 156 miles. It's obviously a much different race when it's 100 or 110 miles. And so we went up the wall 9 times. When it's 156 miles on the longer course, we still only went up the hill. We only went up the wall 10 times. Yeah. But having the finish.
Does it still just boil down to the last 2 laps, like it kind of always did, or?
No, it's
different, huh?
Yeah, when it was the longer lap and 156 miles, it had a very strict script that was very rarely deviated from. We raced for a couple of laps until the early move was gone. It didn't always go on the wall, but it usually did. And it still usually does, but not always. It's just a matter of a group there's a split on the wall that doesn't get chased back. Mm-hmm. And that move can have 4 guys or it can have 30 guys. And I've seen both scenarios. But with a 156-mile race, once it's gone, then you spend the middle 3 hours eating and talking and waiting. And then some Pro Tour team like CSC or High Road would start riding tempo and bring the brake back. Yeah. And so the hardest part of the race was always the last 2 times up the wall. You could sort of sag climb, the first 8 times, but laps 9 and 10, and guys would be coming off all day, but laps 9 and 10 were always tough. And lap 10, the last time up the wall, is where the splits would not come back together again. So if you were going to make the front group, you had to make the front group on the wall because then everybody raced all the way to the finish from there.
Sure.
Now it plays out like a normal road race where Strawberry Hill is more important than it used to be, and even Lemon Hill is a place that people can attack from. And the early move, we raced harder. The race doesn't let up; it stays on the whole time. We raced hard until the early move went. Smart Stop missed the early move and immediately started chasing it, but they weren't sort of setting a long tempo to bring it back gradually. They wanted
it back right away, huh?
Yeah, either to send a guy across or to bring it back right away and start again. They did a very hard chase with like all their guys, and split the race up pretty good. Made it actually pretty hard. There were guys who were definitely coming off when that chase was going on, and they didn't quite hit the reset button, but they did eventually get guys across to the move.
Yeah, it was a kind of a dynamic race. I watched most of it on the live feed, which was awesome to have. And it didn't play out at all how I thought it would, but I'm no expert. Were you guys, you guys being the pro domestic field in general, were you caught off guard by how it played out? By the Spanish team kind of taking the win with Carlos Barbero?
No, well, we on Estella's we weren't, because we discussed like traditional scenarios, but then we also discussed the fact that we talked in our pre-race meeting. We talked about not getting paralyzed by traditional scenarios because it's not the same race anymore, and that we thought that there might be other teams who might get stuck in that rut of, okay, this is how Philly normally goes, and I wanted to make sure my guys didn't make that mistake. So, for us, we still were putting a lot of emphasis on having a guy in the early move, and we knew that was crucial. So when a 30 rider split goes away, we only had one guy in that move. We were fortunate to have a guy in that move. Cortland made it for us, and that was a good ride for him to be up there. He, in a sense, he sort of saved the day for us by being up there. Cortland Brown. And eventually we did manage to get Brex Don up there as well. So we were happy about that. But then the whole thing came back together. So no, we weren't surprised that the move came back early. We knew it would split, and we were prepared for a field sprint, but we weren't counting on it.
Yeah. Were you kind of expecting some of the Optims and Smart Stops and stuff to kind of mark each other out of the race and take advantage of that, or what's the strategy going in? Just hang on for dear life?
No, I think we knew it was going to be an aggressive race, and we knew that there would potentially always be someone unhappy with the move, and it would stay hard until the right combo went away or until everybody was too screwed to do anything about it. And that's pretty much what happened. I don't think everybody was happy with the final selection. Certainly we weren't. But at that point in the race, in the last 2 laps, not everybody's able to fix their mistakes or do anything about it. And so those final moves, you just have to have a guy who's strong enough to make the split.
Sure. And then how was it how was it for the young guys on Estella to ride with the most popular cyclist in America? He was in attendance.
I thought you were talking about me.
Who says I wasn't?
Yeah, maybe you were. Well,
you don't have to answer that.
Let's talk about we did have young guys on our team who were having their first Philly experience, and it actually was quite notable. We were missing Jake Sittler to injury and Matt Green to injury. Jake crashed out of the front group at Winston-Salem and broke his collarbone.
Then that's right.
Matt Green, who's the road squad captain, was hit by a car in Pennsylvania during the week and has a fractured femur and broke his pelvis, and he's going to be out for 3 months. And in all seriousness, we're happy Matt's alive. He was coming down a hill, and a car coming up the hill turned left in front of him on a straight road, and completely unexpected. So it's pretty bad for him. So it really hurt not to have those guys. Matt had been coming back from illness and injury, and was riding really strong at Winston and was really helpful to the team there, and so you could see he was back on track. And Jake is just such a phenomenal talent. I don't think he really even understands how good he is. And at Winston, when the race was hard and other guys were pinned, he just could do whatever he wanted. He attacked and started breakaways. He rode across the breakaways. He was leading the KOM when he crashed out of the breakaway. He had been winning the KOMs up until that point. So we really we needed him at Philly. We thought he was going to do something. So that created an opportunity for other guys on the team. We had to fill that spot, but we have a young British guy, 19-year-old named Dan Gardner, who, man, he's probably the most popular guy on the team. Everybody on the team loves him. Just to think about how long guys dream in their career about getting into a race like Philly, and here he is, a 19-year-old neo-pro, and he got a chance to race, and he rode great. He's so good. He's so talented, and he loves cycling so much, and he's such a good student of the sport. He really carried his own, and he got to the finish line. And you just get to the finish line. He was, riding in the front of the group late in the race when the group was back together. He's there for his teammates, and he's another real promising guy. And I was just thinking about it, in the days after the race, to be 19 years old and to finish Philly.
Yeah.
It's pretty exceptional.
Yeah, I didn't even hear about Philly being a thing until I was like 27. So that's pretty good.
He's ahead of the curve. It's true.
Nice. Well, that's cool. And then
they're all up at Beauce now. They're up at Beauce. That whole group of guys went straight from Philly to Beauce. So I'm looking to see how they do this week up in Canada.
That's exciting. So one question I got to get out, since we are now into June, mid-June, we got to settle a Twitter argument here once and for all. Are you, in mid-June, are you thinking about cyclocross yet?
Yeah, but only administratively, because there's every year things just get moved up earlier and earlier and earlier. Like UCI schedule is out, although we finalized that in December. But people already want to know when they can sign up for camp. Kind Humans already, bikes are getting ready to get sent out. And I have so many phone calls to make about I have to talk to sponsors and get all the equipment stuff lined up that I should have already done. So it basically doesn't ever stop.
So when you say camp, you're talking about the CycleSmart weekend camp that you do?
Yeah, it's the 7th through the 9th of August, and we used to wait till the tour was over before we started planning cross, and then we bumped it up to it's January, it's June 1, tour's about to start, or July 1, tour's about to start. We gotta get organized, and now it's cross is over. We got to plan for next year's cross season. It's a 12-month cycle now.
That's amazing. So that's cool. So Kind Humans back on. Sounds like they're supporting everything, and you're getting the camp set up. So yeah, you got a lot going on. Still trying to
I had an email with CJ even. Well, we are planning the racing schedule too. CJ and I sent some emails back and forth about what the schedule is going to be this fall, and obviously baby's due first week of October, which is Providence weekend, and I don't really feel like I'm in a position to plan too much for a little while after that. And I think personally, this cross season is going to be kind of icing on the retirement cake. I'm still going to do the best I can and try to be as fit as I can, but I don't, maybe I don't sleep for the whole month of October. I just
What's
I've never had a baby before. I had little sisters, but no baby, so it's not the same.
Nice. So are you capping it off then with the Mayor's Cup in Boston? Is that the plan, or?
Yeah, I'll race the Hartford Crit the day after on Sunday, because that's the last NCC race officially. Okay. So that will be technically be my last race, but I'm certainly treating Boston Crit on Saturday as my retirement race and my farewell race, and we're trying to put the plans together for a retirement event, like a benefit event for Bikes Not Bombs. That's sort of like a party and speakers and like it's my funeral. I've been referring to it as my funeral.
Nice.
It's basically like a funeral.
I'll order some flowers for you.
Yeah. Say some nice things about me. Pretend I'm dead.
Nice. Well, that sounds good. Cool. Well, thanks for the update on that. We're gonna get into the rest of the show here, but we appreciate you taking some time out of your very busy schedule and soon to be baby-filled schedule to give us some updates. That was awesome.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
All right.
Hey, this is Mo Bruno Roy, and you're listening to the Slow Ride Podcast.
Welcome back to the Slow Ride Podcast, where we have unfortunately run out of stuff to talk about this week. So without Tim here to interrupt us, we actually got done pretty quick. So what we're going to do is hit you with a few classic bits from the first 60 episodes, just a couple here to flush out the regular time slot, and hopefully enjoy it.
All right, so now we got to go on to what I think is going to be our fan favorite. One good question. This is where every week we rotate who gets to ask the question, and we have to come up with an answer. And little guy, you get to go first. Or no, we'll have Spencer go first here. The question I came up with is that we've always talked about bike racing, and we've started teams together, and we've always had this like imaginary list where we could get millions of dollars from different sponsors, and then put together a pro tour team, or my dream of just getting a boat and going up and down the Mississippi River and just dominating on the team barge. So the question is, if you could have one company...
Is that really a dream of yours, to dominate up and down the Mississippi River with a team?
Oh, dude, there's quite a few races in
Is
St.
there a lot
Louis,
of prize money involved?
There's a lot.
In that racing area? Like, what?
All right.
I mean,
All right.
I don't want to snuff out your dreams, but I'm just saying, you know...
I hear you. Well, I think...
Hey, on a tangent to that, if I had $1 million, could I throw a crit on an aircraft carrier? Is it big enough?
I don't think it is.
It's not big enough, no.
Damn. Okay, back to the drawing board. Go on.
Well,
what's the question of the week? This is our bread and butter here, this podcast.
The question of the week: if you could have one company that could give you unlimited budget, so that you could be both, a regional team, or if you could be a pro tour team, guaranteed entry to the Tour de France, but you had to wear that company as your identity, what company would you want to run that budget? Like, who would you seek out? And Spencer, how would you answer that question?
Unlimited budget, one company as my main sponsor.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm not messing around with regional teams or anything. I'm going straight to the top because I want to be in the Tour. I don't care if I win or not. I just want to be there. Showing off for this sponsor. And so I'm thinking the best way to get a bunch of publicity is by having amazing kits and by having, some of the peripherals like amazing team cars, follow cars, stuff that's going to get, photographed and get people excited. So with that line of thinking, I'm going to go with Oscar Mayer.
Oh. What's your team bus?
Because imagine the team bus, for one, the Wienermobile.
Yeah.
Yep. Imagine the team cars, mini Wienermobiles.
Yeah.
And the kits, a little brown on the sides, little pink stripe in the middle.
Wait, would it have yellow and then just say Oscar Mayer around the...
Pink helmets, complete the wiener look.
That is disgusting.
It's going to be amazing. It's going to be unbelievable. And, I think we'd get them a lot of viral action for their media hits or whatever. I don't know what people want that sponsor cycling teams because a lot of sponsors just don't seem to make sense. I don't understand it. But that's my choice, Oscar Mayer.
I like it, right. and then I'll let little guy follow up. But I like it because instantly you could have the Wienermobile in the as the team bus, so everyone would know it showed up.
Yeah, because imagine when the Wienermobile gets stuck under the finishing arch at stage 1 of the Tour.
But how is the mechanic where on the wiener is the mechanic going to hang out to adjust the rear brake?
Well, no, but little guy,
Dude, we
that's
got mini
that team bus. He's got the mini wieners. But that's the
It'll be a
problem.
smaller,
No,
a smaller.
imagine all the jokes around the finishing arch and the wiener.
Mhm.
It's endless. It's endless.
Well,
it's a media bonanza.
Well,
It is.
here's the follow-up though. Could the mini wiener cars that are in the caravan even be allowed, or would they be too high and they'd always have to be at the back of the caravan?
Well, you know, they wouldn't be. I mean, they could be like Skodas, you know, like whatever, but they got to be painted like wieners. So they could be regular cars. That's fine.
I think this
I'm
is
just
good.
saying.
Well, there's a lot of likes here. I don't know if it reaches the target market of, processed lunch meat crowd, but then again, AgriTubal is,
Yeah.
they make industrial tubing for farms. But I think that
I'm thinking the Europeans in general don't eat enough processed shitty meats. You know?
Well, that's true. And the Jelly Belly team hands out little bags of jelly beans.
Yes.
So you guys could be throwing out just bologna. Just vacuum
Just
sealed
slices?
bologna.
Slices of bologna.
Or lunch
These
rolls.
folks have been standing on the Alpe d'Huez for weeks. Like, they're drunk. They need something in their bellies. They don't care what it is.
And
Oscar
the
Mayer's there
Wienermobile
for
comes
them.
by. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, little guy. What do you think of this little guy? And then tell us how you'd answer this question.
I think they'd be better off getting sponsored by like Sport Bananas or something, a company with more market in the cycling industry, so they can just have a big banana boat following them at races. But I would also go with the transportation theme in a way that I would want, and I don't care. They can just sponsor me or one other guy, but if I could get sponsored by Go Westy and just get the use of like a nice synchro with the pop top and just wear some sweet Go Westy kits, drive around and off-road at all the cross races, like right into the middle of the field and show everybody how cool the synchro is.
So is the Westy, is that like a Westphalia?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're taking it back to the 80s here with the.
Well, I want to get sponsored by Go Westy so that they can give me now a refurbished.
So you can fix my
synchro.
van.
They can. Well, no, I don't even want your van. I want a synchro with a pop top, and then
That hurts.
I'm just thinking then I'll wear a Go Westy kit, and everywhere I go, everyone will say, "What the hell are you?" And I'll explain to them how cool vans are. And
so
then
you're not
that's-
even.
It's
Would be
kind of what
awesome.
you do. It's kind of what you do already. Like people
No, it's
are
not
kind
what
of
I
like,
do now.
what the hell are you doing?
Now,
What are you-
see, if I was with Go Westy, I drive somewhere in a van that's working in every way because they've made it awesome because they make awesome vans again. And
Yeah.
now what I do is I drive somewhere and someone says, "Why were you on the side of the road back there?" And I say, "Oh, just a small coolant leak. It happens all the time." This would
does
be
happen.
completely different. This would be, talking about the quality of the product as opposed to the intricacies
again,
of maintenance.
For those not familiar with the van, the Syncro is the 4-wheel drive kind of super badass A-team version of a regular van
Exactly.
again, which is already pretty badass.
Yeah,
Well-
yeah.
Okay,
So
all right.
little guy, you're not even going to Pro Tour level. You're like, I just
No,
want
I'm
to
just-
show up at regional crit in the Westphalia. All right.
Yeah,
And you're gonna show up all the guys who spent $60,000 on a Sprinter, and you're gonna show up with a Vanagon from 1986,
Yeah,
and it's gonna be way more badass and versatile.
of course.
Okay, that's
And,
yeah,
I mean,
I like that.
At
As a
the
van
basic
owner,
level, their
I get behind
engines are in the wrong place. So, I mean, already won that battle.
that's true.
So.
All right. So I will take my the finish here with the last answer. My unlimited budget team. I've always wanted to have a team sponsored by the Pearson Nut Roll Company, like when you go into the convenience store and you get the Nut Roll candy bar.
It's very delicious.
And
bar.
I think a Pearson Nut Roll jersey, much like the Oscar Mayer Wiener, could just really take over the peloton because there's a couple of positives here. It brings back the red kit that Seiko just wore beautifully. You could just have a nut roll, like kind of an unwrap. You know how like Garmin used to have the Chipotle burrito sticking out of the rear pocket? You could just have a nut roll coming out of the rear pocket. That would be pretty cool.
Beautiful.
I think the nut roll could take over Europe. I mean, once you bite into that candy bar, it's an amazing experience. Now, I don't know if everybody has the ability to buy a Pearson's nut roll. They're not down here in Florida, so if someone wants to send one, they can, but the Pearson's Nut Roll is the place to be.
Are you gonna include an address, a mailing address, in the links?
Yeah, we are willing to take Pearson Nut Roll donations to help this podcast along for sure.
I mean, it's crunchy, it's salty, it's sweet and chewy, it's covered in nuts, and it's got a surprise inside. That is from the Pearson's Candy website.
Oh, nice.
It is amazing, and it's legendary. So I think that there's 3 good teams that could be, or 2 Pro Tour teams and 1 regional team that could be pretty well here.
Oh, so you're going Pro Tour level?
Oh, hell yeah! Like, come on, they've got a crown on their logo. My first Posado would be my first signing.
Posado?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. He seems like a nut.
You're gonna waste all your money right off the bat? I mean, it just seems...
but only God can judge him. Maybe he'll get the tattoo of the Pearsons on, with his back. It'd be awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Sounds pretty good.
I'd cheer for this team. I mean, I'd have to. They're local, local pride.
It is a Minnesota company, yeah.
Well, and it's an amazing, also cyclist mid-ride snack because it's got all that high-quality protein to get you through. It's a little salty.
Yep.
It's too good.
I don't know if they have nut rolls here in New England. I haven't looked.
All right, well, if you can look, take some pictures. Salted nut rolls would be good. All right, guys.
What's the other thing they make, Timmy?
What's that? They also make Bita honeys.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah.
Delicious as well.
The Pearson Candy Factory, headquartered in St. Paul. I think that I'm gonna write up a team proposal. Little guy, you can be the mechanic.
Really? All right.
Well, we won't want to be able to afford any electronic shifting, so
Good. Thank God. I don't want any of that crap near me.
Alrighty, guys. I think that's pretty much gonna wrap up the first ever edition of this. I'm curious as to favorite bicycling moments. So the question that I'm asking is, what is your one single moment, and you have to choose one in which you were like, you know what? That is riding a bike for me. That is the coolest moment. That's what I'm going to tell my grandkids about. That is the best thing about bikes I've ever done.
Just amazing. So that's got to be it.
I don't accept that. How?
Why not? What do you think is my best moment?
Well, I mean, there's several, but I don't understand how you can't mention the time when you won at the velodrome in Minnesota. There was a points race. And they used to do this thing where everybody in the crowd could write down the name of the winner. And then if that person won, then there was a chance for an individual to win a coupon to Chipotle, like a $15 gift certificate.
Yeah.
And I remember you specifically winning, and then your lovely wife was there and her mom, and neither of them picked you, and you won, and then they're going through the list of all right, who picked the little guy, and there wasn't one, so you got the Chipotle gift certificate.
That was pretty cool. It wasn't a points race. It was I think it was a whatever the 3-lap sprint thing is, whatever the heck that is.
So you won that? That should have been your best ever.
And there you have it. Thanks for joining us for episode 60 here in the Slow Ride Podcast. We really appreciate you all tuning in, leaving reviews, send us emails, any advice, questions, anything you think we should talk about, send it to the Slow Ride Podcast at gmail.com. Thanks, of course, to BK1 from Ryan Sayers Entertainment for the use of his track Tema de Cannibal off the album Radio de Cannibal. Check it out if you haven't already. It's awesome. A bunch of Brazilian music he dug up and remixed. Thanks to everybody who tweets about the show, tweets at us. You make it worthwhile. You keep it fun. You keep us honest a little bit, or at least on our toes. Subscribe on iTunes if you haven't already. Really helps us out in the rankings. That's something that we like to think is important. Anyways, always remember to wave when you see your fellow cyclists out on the road. We're a small tribe. And as always, we'll catch up with you at the next cafe stop.
The Slow Ride Podcast. Bikes, advice, and rumors straight from the source. theslowridepodcast.com and on Twitter at theslowridepod.